Hi guys, what's going on? We get asked about night vision so much that we need to do a long video.
At least 6,283,333 recurring times a day.
For sure. So hopefully you've made yourself a cup of tea or an alcoholic beverage, because this will be quite a long video. We can go into a lot of detail. If you do have any questions, obviously put them in the comments box below and we will address them in the comments. If it's a really common question, we'll do another video.
Yeah, for sure. So, night vision, where do you start? The most common question I think we get asked is, I'm just starting out, I want to get some night vision, where do I start?
Yes. What I would recommend from someone who has tried a lot of Gen 1 devices, a lot of Gen 2 devices and Gen 3 devices, I would just eradicate Gen 1.
Yeah.
If you are in the budget mark of, say, £100 to £600-700, what I would recommend is that you just wait, continue to save, because within that budget, it's very unlikely that you're going to get hold of a set of Gen 2. This is talking in the European market. We've got a big American audience. You guys are completely different, because we know that you can pick up sort of 7s and PBS7 stuff like that for about $900.
Yeah, they're thereabouts. I'd say different markets. So,
but Europe, if you are, easy way to put it, if you're under £1,000, keep saving.
Yeah, anything under £1,000, I would say, just as tempting as it is, and as much you go, you know, as Airsoft as, oh, I want it, and I want it yesterday. Please, just save your money. Just put it in a little pot, you know, stick it in your pants, whatever it is you need to do to stop you spending it. So, from £1,000 upwards, your options are, I would say, so you then have really just, honestly guys, look for Gen 2 Plus upwards. So Gen 2 Plus or Gen 3 is really what is available in the UK and Europe, I would say.
So, before we move into the Gen 2, Gen 3, why not Gen 1 Plus or Gen 1? The clear issue that you have is that you have to use an IR illuminator or an IR device to really get the benefit of that. Now, in some cases, you can get away with that. So, for example, if you are the only person at the entire event with night vision, which we have been a few times before, you can use IR illumination and you can light the whole place up with IR light, and then your Gen 1 device will react to that to a degree. The issue with a lot of Gen 1 devices is clarity and also fisheye.
Yes, so obviously, you know, both myself and Tim have used Gen 1, Gen 1 Plus. Now, what I would say is, the guys that have used Gen 1 Plus with an IR illuminator of some description, when they use the IR illuminator, so without IR illuminator, you have this grainy, black, almost like static TV image.
We'll try and put an image in now.
Yeah, you can't really, how to describe it, you can't pick out shapes from the fuzz, okay? So it's so dark, you can't really, you can barely make out shapes. In some ways, you are better off with the naked eye. However, when you put your IR illuminator on, it will crisp the image up. It will make it much brighter, outlines, silhouettes, anything like this, and the clarity of the picture will crisp right up, and you think this is amazing. But as Tim just said, you know, if you can see the IR illuminator, so can everyone else with envy. Herein lies the problem.
Yeah, and in that case, you may as well have a torch and just walk around with your torch on. Because that's what other night vision users will see. We'll try and put some footage in now of what an IR light looks like through night vision, you know, if you're another user. Again, if you're the only person there, you might be able to get away with it. The key fundamental issue is that you can only use it in that scenario. As soon as you turn that IR illuminator off, if you're in woodland or you're in a dark environment, you're really going to struggle. I know this because I've been in that position before myself. Urban, we've got away with it slightly because of the use of IR lasers and street lights and all that sort of thing. But again, I would just say for the money you're going to spend, continue saving and get Gen 2. Now, for me, the difference then between Gen 1 and Gen 2 is very, very big. The gap is huge. The then difference between Gen 2 Plus and the early or lower end of Gen 3 is actually not as much of a jump, in my opinion. until you go to the higher end of Gen 3, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but
Yeah.
the gap between Gen 1, like a Spark Core, for example, and then a Cobra Demon, or some of the Fleur Gen 2 Plus units, there's a big step.
Yeah.
And what you're going to find from those devices is they're more responsive to the ambient light, so like moonlight and the lit conditions, and they're a lot more responsive to IR light and illuminators. The ideal that you want from your night vision is for you to be able to navigate and move without the use of IR.
Yeah, and again, you know, we'll touch on this a bit later on in the video, but anyone who buys night vision or uses it for the first time, you'll very quickly, you'll learn that it doesn't matter if it's Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, these don't have magic beams in them that can see in pitch black. You know, if it's pitch black and you have no ambient light, so for those of you that have no idea, I'm sure most of you guys do, night vision works on collecting ambient light and amplifying it. Now, if there's no ambient light to amplify, you'll still see nothing. So you can have Gen 3 in a room with no windows, no doors, you will still see nothing.
Yeah.
So, but the difference is like Tim said, how well that unit will amplify the light. So Gen 2 and Gen 3 will obviously maximise what little ambient light you have, you know, to the maximum potential, whereas Gen 1 probably won't.
Yeah.
So for manoeuvring, etc., you know, even if you have Gen 3 plus, we've been there in a woodland with a thick canopy over the top, no moonlight, it is still pitch black.
It's still difficult.
Still difficult.
Yeah. You're going to see a hell of a lot more than people with the naked eye.
Sure.
Like, that's for sure. So Gen 2, Gen 3, you're definitely going to see more than everyone else around you.
Yeah.
Gen 1, not so much. I actually found some points when having a Gen 1 device and it got dark, I would actually flip it up and be able to see more once my eyes has adjusted to the dark than I would through that unit. And that's the comparison. The only good thing about the Gen 1 unit was being able to aim with an IR laser. So aiming with a device that other people can't see.
Yeah.
IR is, your eyes can't detect IR light. So IR illuminators, lasers and that lot can't be seen by people with no night vision.
That being said, there are obviously some, so this is Tim's talking about, you know, real still sort of legit units. There are some IR LEDs, LED torches, illuminated, etc., which will still give off a very dim red light.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking at a 45-degree angle, maybe you won't see it. It's not till you're actually looking directly at it that you will see this. But we are talking about the very base unit, so you're absolutely correct. But you know, if you go out and buy a £15 IR torch from eBay or something, chances are someone with the naked eye may see this.
May see it, So just be aware that when you do get your IR devices, best thing you can do, if you've got an IR illuminator or whatever, is put it at the end of your garden, turn it on, face it back towards you.
Test it.
So try not to get it in your eyes, but you know, you just see if you can be. So just be careful with things like that. So testing out devices, so what you're going to need then, which we would recommend Gen 2 Plus. There's a load of units out there that you can get. We recommend the Cobra Demon. We know a few people that have run them. Now the Cobra Demon has been out for a little while, and there's some other good Gen 2 Plus units on the market. The Fleur units are very, very good. We've recently played with the BNVDs, and to be completely honest, for the money you're going to spend, they're very good. Yes, they are 4,000, big gasp. That they are quite expensive, but you're getting the best that you can buy within the European market. They're completely legit and they are dual tubes. If you don't have that to spend, chop that in half, spend about $2,000, and you will get a very good level monocle. That is really the captive devices that a lot of people are going to. Richie, Gen 3 prices, where are they?
So really, Gen 3 and Gen 3 Plus, if again, guys, you know, we would in no way, you know, recommend or endorse that you buy anything off the black market, anything that's stolen, you know, anything like this. It's just not the route to go down. So we are only talking about legit units here, stuff that you can buy off the shelf as a civilian, like the BDMVGs, Cobra Demons. So if you want Gen 3, I think the only real place is going to be like Actin Black, I believe, in Europe. Now,
The people that are scared of the 4,000 mark, please do not even visit the Acting Black website without even, without being sat down and a nurse on hand. My quotation for Gen 3 devices from them was £18,000.
Yeah. So you are looking, if you wanted a base monocular, I think you're looking a minimum of sort of 9,000, 9,000.
Yeah.
That's no bells, no whistles. That's a very basic tube. No white phosphor. They're probably filmed tubes.
Yeah.
Now, like Tim said, you could go from 9,000 for perhaps a monocle, all the way up to the DTMVGs, which white phos filmless could be 18, 19, 20,000 pounds, which for me is ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
I would never pay that.
Yeah.
But that's just to give you guys, that's the ballpark figure.
Yeah.
So realistically, what we're saying here is here. So something, in our opinion, that is usable as a night vision device, you could pay from 2,000 to 20,000.
Yeah.
It's a big spectrum.
And that is a big spectrum. And if you are looking towards some of the other markets that are out there, you can go beyond that 20,000 into some deeper areas. So night vision from a base cost is expensive.
Yeah.
That there's no two ways about this. There's no cheaping out. There's no secret door. There's no magic room. There's no special device out there. These $200 PVS 14 reps that have got digital film thing insane. They don't work. Don't try and beat the system when it comes to night vision. It genuinely doesn't work. If it did, we would be on here telling you about it. Like, it doesn't work.
So realistically, guys, that's where we're at right now. So for my opinion, if you want a good night vision device for a reasonable cost, me personally, my money would be on the BDMVGs from Fleur, between 4,000 to 4,900 for your sort of HD or the 51 degree field of vision. We'll just touch on that in just a second. But for me, that's where I put my money. I would save, and that's what I'd go for. Yeah,
me, I would save and I would go for the cheaper unit. I'd go for the Monocle. I think it's a really good step on to night vision. If you're looking for your first device, I think it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Going to dual tubes is, jumping straight into a fancy car. If you can do it, then do it for sure. But if you are looking for that earlier step onto the ladder, a Monocle will do you really well.
Yeah. So let's just talk about real quickly the difference between monocles. So a single tube, when we say a monocle, that is one tube. Or dual tubes, dual tubes. Now, I know Tim you run a single tube.
Yeah, I run a mono,
I run duals. Now, I'm lucky I've run duals for the whole time. I have used singles, but I've never owned one. Now, pros and cons, really. Just from a personal point of view, I can't get on with a single tube. For some reason, whether it's eye dominance or what, I just can't get on with it. I really struggle. Whereas I know you can literally go, click, boom, and he's off. He's away, he's walking, weapons manipulation with no drama at all. Whereas I'm still trying to focus and get it close to my eye and stuff.
And I think because I've run a monocle for a long time, and then when I did try duals out, I found that all the time I was constantly struggling to gauge stuff that was like at this plane. So when you wear night vision, monocle or duals, you have to realise that they are further out in front of you and they're a much narrower field of view. You're not going to see this whole peripheral view. You kind of get a very narrow spectrum. Now, a lot of devices that are on the market, probably about 90%, maybe 95% are 40 degrees.
40 degrees. So that is maybe, as you're looking here, is maybe somewhere like that, maybe? I suppose.
It's a much narrower field of view. Now, just because you've got a 40 on each eye, it doesn't give you 80. You still have 40. So what Fleur did is when they brought out their BNVDs, they have a 51 degree field of view. Now, I've tried the 51s and I looked through Richie's at the same time, and personally, I couldn't see too much of a difference. Now, that's just me. I haven't spent a lot of time with them and I haven't spent a lot of time with Jules, but personally, I couldn't notice this kind of, it wasn't like watching, the old school TV and then watching a widescreen. Like, that's what I wanted, like this big, peripheral view, but I didn't really get that from them. And that's kind of, people who asked me about getting 51s, I just said I would get 40s. I mean, that's my opinion.
I think it comes down to what you're used to. I mean, again, guys, if there's any way you can demo a unit before you buy it, please do, because like I say, Tim just personally can't get on with Jules. I can't get on with a single tube. I mean, I find duals are much better for me personally.
Yeah.
I have a slightly wider field of view because there's 2 tubes, and you can adjust the eyepieces out. I find them better for patrolling. You know, it's for if you're patrolling for 2-3 hours, etc., whatever. It's not a problem. You know, you haven't got have your head on so much of a swivel.
Yeah.
You can manoeuvre over obstacles, logs, fences, etc. And I don't find it, you know, too much of a strain on the eye.
Yeah.
Whereas I know you can do just the same with your single tube.
Yeah, I think, you know, the other thing that I found when I had the duals, because they have the capacity to flick up, I flicked one of them up quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, almost putting myself back into a comfort zone. Now, that might be because I've spent the last couple of years playing with a mono.
Yeah.
So I think if I wore duals for maybe as long as you have, I'd feel the same way.
Yeah.
I think it's the fact that I've put them on and gone, this is very different than what I'm used to. And that's one thing that you guys are going to have to sort of adapt to. If you go for a mono, you know, use it, run it out, it's going to feel weird. There's no two ways about it. You know, your brain all of a sudden sees 2 colours. I remember getting a real bad headache the first time I wore nods, and speaking to other people about it, and guys that have done some serving time with night vision. And when I spoke to them, they said, your brain is just getting used to one eye being able to see and one eye not. So, you know, with the duals, you completely eradicate that. You just put them down, your brain sees, you know, an illuminated picture of what you see in front of you. Whereas when you have a mono, your brain is kind of mashing together 2 views. Now, once you've done that for a long time, one of the benefits of the mono for me is that if you're looking at an illuminated area, or you go into an illuminated area, or you need to use your weapon sight for whatever reason, for me, I wear the monocle on my left, so if I need to then use my weapon, I can just bring the gun up and look down the sight with this, especially if I'm looking into a lit up area. That for me is kind of one of the benefits of the mono.
Yeah, that is a really good point, to be fair, in the fact that, you know, I obviously use an IR laser / illuminator. So if you imagine my night vision that sit here, so there's no way I can shoulder I can sight my gun at all. In which case I have to shoulder my weapon here, but I use my IR illuminator.
Yeah.
So I'm actually using the laser illuminator under the night vision, you know, perhaps an inch lower, but you know, it's still good. You can still transition, etc. with it.
Yeah.
It just means I cannot sight the weapon. Now, the advantage Tim has over me with duals and his single, like he just says, if you go into a partially lit area or a well lit area, I then have to stop. I still have my hand on the weapon.
Yeah.
I then have to flip my nods up, and then I can sight the weapon.
Yeah.
At which point you're then having to stop or concentrate on do this. You're putting your hand in your peripheral vision, which you know, it's maybe milliseconds, but it could be a contact. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's where you don't have to do that. You can just sight it, job done.
And this is why these kind of flip up to the side night visions, like the FLIR units, are very, very good. And that is the benefit. That's the design behind them, is so that you can flip one up if you need to, or you know, if you're moving into a well lit area, you can still look into the shadows with one eye and still be able to see into the bright areas with the other. And again, you can do it with dual tubes. There's a lot of argument between the two. I've also been asked, you know, do I get a Gen 3 mono or a set of Gen 2 plus duals, because they work out around the same price, right? And my option would always be is go for the Gen 2 plus duals.
Yeah.
I think that they would be much more beneficial in that price range, especially for new users, because they're not going to have that issue of the mind mashing the pictures together. You just flick them down and get on with it.
Yeah.
So, you know,
and like I say, the BDMVGs now, you know, for me personally, the FLIR units, what they've done with them, they've really put some effort into the R&D, and they're just a much better quality unit nowadays. Whereas before, dual tubes before were a bit flimsy and you know, a bit cheap, but now, you know, the housing is solid as a rock. You know, there's no flex in it, no bend.
Yeah.
You pop it up, it stays up. I think it's an auto off, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an auto off.
So there's little things like this. Yeah, so definitely I agree with Tim. If you're going to go down that route, I would say for a new night vision user, it's just a real user-friendly package.
Yep. You can literally get it. So now that we've moved on to the package that you're going to need. Now, I've had quite a few people that have gone down this. They've been saving, they've saved, and then the day that they've got enough money to go and get their night vision, they've gone and bought the unit, and they're like, wow, I've got night vision. Okay, what else do I need?
Yeah.
There is also some cost that sits on top of that unit that is quite expensive. Don't just think, oh, now I've got my £1,600 unit, that's the spending over. Yeah. Because there is some other bits you're going to need.
Definitely. So just to cover what we feel is that some of the necessities that you're really going to need and may help you, you know, overcome some of the hurdles. So firstly, and for me personally, most importantly, is get yourself a good lid.
Yes.
A good, and when I say a good lid, I'm talking about it's got to be so lightweight. A lightweight lid. Make sure your retention system, the chin straps, whatever padding you have in there, whether it's a Team Wendy Epic liner, whether it's the what have you got?
The FMA bump.
FMA bump with the
Octadial.
Cable ratcheting system. Make sure that once your lid is on and it's secure, it doesn't move like this, right?
Just make sure you haven't got a wobbly helmet. That's what we're trying to say.
Even if you have to do the chin strap really tight and you can't shout.
You can't shout.
Right.
So not being able to shout your helmet on may be a problem.
Maybe, but yeah. So you need the lid to be secure, stable. For me personally, I think
that's the biggest thing, isn't it?
Biggest thing, because I've made the mistake of having a bad lid that doesn't sit well, and you've only, with the weight of the nods, even if you've got a good counterbalance, and we'll get to that in a moment, you've only got to dip your head down and the lid will slide forward, and next thing your nods are sitting down here, sort of on your cheek. You can't, sight picture's all wrong, or it's off to one side, it's uncomfy. So yeah, guys, really take your time. Do your research, get a good lid.
Get a comfy lid. Now that doesn't mean you need to go and buy an Ops Core or a Team Wendy. You can get FMA helmets and line them out and buy padding kits and get them dialed in. Just don't expect to be able to grab a lid and just stick it on your head with the padding in as it comes from the factory and your nod's going to work. Now I had an issue with when I had my armour sight with the helmet that I had then. It didn't quite tighten up enough. And the nod used to sit forward on my eye pro, so the actual back ring of the night vision used to sit against my glasses, and then the glasses would dig in over my nose and the bottom of my face. The worst thing is it would give me a really bad headache, and it would make the bridge of my nose really sore, especially when me and Richie were at Stanta and we door kicked for I don't know, 4, 5.
Yeah, it could be 3, 4, 5 hours. Don't know, but we were out
the whole night.
We were out the whole night, and like I say, when you've got the, when you've got that pressure, or when something isn't comfy, with your lid is pushing down here or something, you need to be, when you're out on the ground, you can't just sort it out then. You need to sort it out beforehand. So like Tim says, don't expect to put it on and run with it. Take your time,
set it up,
move the pads around, try different stuff. Sit in your bedroom, adjust the chin strap, make sure it's sitting perfectly, how you need it. So good lid. What else?
Next, you're going to need your mount that will go to your arm, and then from your arm to your night vision. So that mount on your helmet, there's a variety of them that you can get. FMA do some great copies. It means that you're not going to go and spend £500, £600, £700 on a legit Wilcox. They can be very difficult to get hold of. Yes, some pop up on Facebook every now and then, but I know that a friend of mine recently got one. He paid 750 quid for it. So that's it's a lot of money for a legit. I think it's an LG 24. And
they are pricey.
They're super expensive. What I would recommend is getting an FMA. Now, I guess the risk with some of the FMAs is I know that it fits my helmet and my night vision quite well. I know other people that have bought them and it hasn't fit their helmet particularly well. They've had to modify the shroud. That might mean a little bit of dremeling, a little bit of filing, a little bit of sanding, whatever, but you can normally get it to fit fairly well with a bit of sort of handiwork.
Yeah, and again, sort of back in the day, the quality wasn't so good, but I know nowadays some of their qualities are really good. Like I think the D-pan, which fits the Anvis now, I think FMA do a legit metal copy that actually works.
Yeah, with the power supply.
With the power supply and everything.
That's going to be the mount from your helmet to the main mount on the front, and that will go to your arm. Now, what we recommend is the dovetail system over the Rhino mount, or the Rhino, and then they also do now a small kind of dovetail rail mount for some of these lids as well. If you go dovetail, it's going to give you a lot more accessibility on the arm. You can pick up some of those arms that go to like a PVS 14 or to a micro rail. Armour Sight do one that I personally use. It's called the Armour Sight 172. It is now available in Europe. It wasn't available for a little while, but it is now available in Europe. If you are interested and need that, then you can. That will work with your Fleurs. That will work with your Cobra Demons. It will work with all of them. If you're running a mono, you can run the Armour Sight 172. Nice. If you're running duals, they also do. Armour Sight do a dual mount for MUM mounts or for the micro dovetail. So that will work as well.
Awesome. So, cover the lid, we cover the mounts. Now, really, for me personally, to get your lid set up correctly and help the weight balance, you're probably looking at some form of counterweight, you know, some sort of counterbalance pouch. Now there are many different pouches on the market. I personally run the HSGI / it was a collaboration between HSGI and RE Factor Tactical.
Good luck finding one of those.
Yes, they are rare as rocking all shit now. So that for me is an awesome mount. It's designed as a battery pack pouch, so it's designed to keep either an AMVIS or GPMVG battery pack in there. You can put weights in there. There's extra pouches on the side to put CR123As in, AA batteries, silums. Also, you can fit all sorts of stuff in there. Velcro on the back to help you stick to the lid. There are also 2 sets of bungees with Velcro panels on them, which basically bungee down the side here.
Yeah.
So rather than it sitting on the back of your helmet, and with all that weight peeling off, you have your 2 side straps that come down, help keep it tight to the lid.
Yeah.
That's just what I run. I think it's an awesome pouch, but yeah, good luck finding one.
Yeah, I mean, Emerson do a ton of repro ones of the TNVC pouches. I'll put mine in now. I recently got this. This is the Mark III / Mark IV. It's a copy of the TNVC pouch. It's really good. It's nice and wide. You can put a battery pack in there for ANVIS or whatever. You can get repro ones of them from FMA. So if you wanted to get the repro battery pack, just fill it with some batteries or fill it with some goodies, you can. If not, there is a little package on the back for you to be able to fill it up. Now, why is a counterweight important? That's one of the key things. I get asked this a lot. Like, people run these counterweight pouches because they look cool, and loads of like military guys use them. But why are they functional? What do they do?
Yeah. So basically, if you imagine the whole idea of a night vision, whether it's a monocle or a dual tube, it's exactly what it says on the tin. They're tubes. Okay. So you have an objective lens and an ocular lens. Okay. The idea is you need to get these 2 perfectly lined up, okay, whether it's, you know, this way or this way, whichever. So imagine you have all this weight up front, whether it's stowed, you know, up like this, or more so when it's out front, you have you know, your point of balance is further forward, so you need something to counteract that. Now I know guys who go into it like meticulously, they weigh their night vision, and then they go, right, well I need X amount of grams on the back, blah 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 blah. Me personally, I think that's going a bit too far into it. You know, just keep putting weights in until you feel, you know, that the weight is perfectly balanced, front and rear. Again, try it with the night vision lowered and stowed. See how it feels. Obviously, ideally, you need it perfectly balanced when they're out and in the usable position. But you need to just make sure that everything's perfectly balanced. Otherwise, if you don't get your sight picture lined up, your tubes will be off, and you may lose some of your sight picture, which, you know, you're just wasting money, really.
Yeah, and also you want this to be stable. So, you know, last thing you want to do is be getting a lick on, and because there's no weight on the back, all the weight's at the front, it's going to rattle around like crazy. You just find that weight at the back, it kind of stabilises it for when you are getting a bit of a movement on. Now, the last thing that you're going to need up front is the arm. Like I mentioned, you can get some arm sight ones. There's a few different ones out there. A lot of the guys that are going to provide the night vision to you, if you chase them up for getting an arm to a dovetail mount, they are going to be able to sort you out. So that's everything from the back of the helmet with the counterweight pouch to the helmet itself, all the way through to the front mount, then to the arm, then to the night vision. Now, what you're going to need to be able to engage people with that night vision on is a laser device. I personally have used the FMA PEC LA5, and I've also used the the Element PEC LA5, and I've used the GMP D-bow. Now, the GMP D-bow, in my opinion, is the best out of all of them. It is the most expensive. The others retail for about 50, 60 quid. The GMP retails for about 150, and they're also quite difficult now to get hold of. Now, I say that it's better, and yet I'm using FMAs. Now, why? The reason for that is because the GMP D-bow is bulky, it has a much larger signature, and also can be a little bit of a pain with the adjustments. It has dials on the top and dials on the side. They're not lockable dials, and you can just tap them with your fingers, 1 or 2 clicks either way, and they make a real big movement. Whereas with the FMA and the Element, they are embedded screws, so it's much more difficult for you to kind of adjust them with your hands at the front of your gun. If you're like me and you shoot both hands a lot, your hands are going down the side of the weapon back and forth a lot. I noticed that I manipulated those dials quite a bit on the GMP, so I got rid of it, and now I do run the cheaper versions. Now, they're a little bit less robust, but they are a lot less easy to kind of change dope.
But again, I know the smaller the FMA pet boxes, they're a much lower profile.
Yeah.
They're more ergonomic to the gun. That's like you say, when your hands come over the top, it just follows that line, that round line, much easier to use. Now, again, the problem with these is they're inherently very, very difficult to dial in, very, very difficult to zero.
Yeah.
I know FMA are looking to bring out their new one.
Yeah.
I believe it's next year.
Yeah, it should be January, February of next year.
So looking forward to see what they come up with. So those are two very, very good options. The pet boxes are between 50 to 70 pounds.
Yeah, 50, 60 quid. It depends where you're shopping around. You can normally pick. One quick thing. You need to get a pet box with an IR laser on it. I know that sounds really stupid, but there's a lot of pet boxes out there from the companies like Nuprol, and there's some other brands out there that do these pet boxes at the front, and they have a torch in and a laser, but that laser is a red laser.
Yeah.
That laser will be visible to everyone. You want to use the IR laser on the IR spectrum, so it will only be visible to night vision users.
Definitely, yeah. And again, it's not. I know it sounds silly, but just really try and reiterate, when you're doing your research, you're looking for these pet boxes, make sure, it may have, like Tim says, white light, red laser, and make sure it comes with an IR laser.
Yeah, we had a friend of ours actually. We went to a woodland site near us, remember, a while back, and he'd got a laser device and it had a red laser on it, and he thought it was IR. And obviously, through your night vision, it's just a laser, you can't see it. But then, obviously, with my monocle, I can see that it was a red laser, and I kept telling him to swap to his IR, and that was the only one he had. So he'd spent like 40, 50 quid on a PEC, and it only had a red laser.
Yeah. So, top end of that, you're looking at sort of £70. Now, another option, add another zero on the end of that, okay?
Yeah.
So for about £700 to £900, okay, you could get what I'm running, and that's a PEC 2.
Yeah.
Now the PEC 2 is a real steel unit. It's still used by Norwegian Special Forces. It is a big bulky unit. You're looking at sort of this sort of size. It's quite large.
It's like a TV remote from the 80s.
It does, yeah. It looks like a massive TV remote. Now, although that's a large unit, the quality of this is obviously it's real steel, and the adjustability and zeroability of this is incredible.
Always annoys me that we turn up to events and Richie swaps from his PEC from one gun to the other, puts some shots out, turns the dial over, and then walks away, and I'm still there an hour later trying to dial in the elements. So definitely worth the spend if you are looking at that other that top end budget.
If that is in your budget, I would definitely say perhaps go down that route if you don't mind the larger surface area, or you don't mind taking up that real estate on your rifle. Now, this comes with they're very different models, so I won't go into all of them, but mine is literally just an IR laser and an IR illuminator. So the IR laser, again, like Tim said, has windage and elevation dials, nice solid detent clicks, and you can see this move. One click it's a very minute amount, isn't it? Lots of travel in this, so I've had it on various rifles. I've had to do 3 or 4, 5, 6 real good turns to get it to come all the way down and across. Yeah. So that's the laser aiming device. The illuminator itself is basically like a big sort of floodlight or a torch. Again, windage and elevation, full adjustment, but also it has a dial on the front which allows you to go from flood to spot. So you can basically dial this from a great big huge floodlight right down to almost like another laser. Various power settings, so you can have low illuminator, high pointer, high illuminator, and all the various combinations above. Now, again, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. There's no easy way into this about. It's the kind of caveat that we get asked a lot, right? Yeah. I've got X to spend. What we're now talking about is kind of what you need beyond to make your night vision viable and to work, right? So yes, you've got your initial spend, but you also need to take into consideration these other parts that are all going to add up. So if we just run through some rough costs, we say helmet, pouch, counterweight pouch, 30
to 40 pounds.
30 to 40 quid, right? Lid?
60.
Okay, so there's 100.
That's 100.
Then you've got your front mount. I mean, my FMA was £89, I think.
Okay, so let's call it 2.
Yeah, so say 200 with your shipping, things like that.
Yeah.
Then you need to get an arm. My arm was, the arm sight 172 is about 80 quid, but that was very cheap at the time. So I don't know if it's gone up a little bit now. And if you go and get yourself a J arm, PVS 14 J arm, or any of the other arms that are out there, you're probably looking between £40 to £100.
So let's round that up to 3.
Yeah.
Let's say worst case scenario, £300 so far.
And that is without your PEC laser aiming device, IR torches, and all the other bits and bobs. So,
And night vision.
and your night vision on top. So you need to look at ancillaries. Now, we're talking rough estimates, we're talking brand new.
For sure.
You might have these kind of golden buys where something comes up second hand, it's lightly used or whatever. We're just going to give you kind of a top end estimate.
But like I say, just because, we're talking about, BDMVGs of £4,500, PEC 2s at £900, second hand. Now, that's literally, guys. This is the top end we're talking.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Everyone says, "Oh, who has that kind of money?" You're right. Not everyone has that kind of money.
Yeah.
This is why we're giving you options. So, like we said, the FMA PEC or the D-bow, £50 to £70.
Yeah.
You could again go down the Cobra Demon route. So there is that.
They're about
option.
£1,400 to £1,600. You can go for the flare units. There is options, but the entry bar is very high. That's just kind of the key of night vision. You are going to need all these components to make them work. You are going to need some time with them. We would highly recommend that you can go to your local skirmish field, and when people are finished 4 or 5 o'clock, especially when it's this dark, just get your nods on, go for a walk. It sounds really stupid. Learn to understand exactly what your nods are showing you and where that is relative to you. I've had a few moments early on when I was using night vision where I would have my nods on. I could see a branch going down in front of me, and I'd walk over to it, be kind of like, doing this like ballerina step over it, trying to gauge where it actually was. Whereas over time, you just, trot over it and so on and so forth. So you will need time, you will need and money. But getting to the golden point of this video, night vision is an absolute game changer when it comes to playing 24 hours, playing Milsims, and actually coordinating as a team in the dark. It was the best investment for me out of all Airsoft. No investments come close to night vision. Night vision opened up the capability of working as a team, being able to see, being able to communicate, pass tasks into whatever. I mean, we talk about this a lot, but we've done an event not that long ago at night, just the two of us on the hand signals. We could use hand signals because we could see each other, we could see each other because of night vision. That meant that there was no noise, and then when it came to engaging enemies, we could clearly communicate with no noise at all because we could see one another. We could indicate targets with IR laser and that sort of thing. So it is a huge game changer, although the cost is quite high.
Yeah, it's a huge game changer. And also, if you are looking to really go down the Milsim, battle sim route, I'm not just talking about the 12-hour day ones, so they don't count. But if you're looking at doing 24, 36 hours, you have to look at it realistically. So that if you buy night vision, that opens up 50% of your playtime. Yeah. Okay. So yes, of course you can still go out at night time and use white light. Of course you can. We're not saying this is not an elitist video. We're not saying if you don't have night vision, you can't play. But you're not cool. No. But really, just if you really want to get into it and you really want to make the most of it, for like Tim says, it just opens up this whole other avenue. Whereas before, sometimes you're creeping around trying to not give away your signature under a torch with your fingers over the front of the torch. Yeah. You don't have to worry about that. It just
I just found a lot of tasks just soon became much easier. Navigating, finding equipment, throwing a pack down, being able to go through it. I'd do it with my nods. I'd dial the focus right down. I could do stuff right in front of me. I could change batteries, whatever, without before having to put the red light on and being quite cautious. Navigation, communication, being able to spot things. Stupid stuff like, we've got Richie on the comms and I can't see him, we're in some woodland or we're on a big open plain and we've become separated, with other units of the team, or we're communicating between teams. Someone can do a quick IR lasso and it's very easy to target their position. It's like a big lightsaber coming out of the ground.
It covers pretty much everything, all of the questions that anyone's ever asked about night vision. So we've covered everything from costs, from basic to top end. Not just the types of night vision, how much it's going to cost, the equipment, the accessories, ancillaries you will need to run this to its maximum potential. Other than that, anything else to add?
I think that's it. So guys, if there is any more, please feel free to put comments in the box below. If you do see anyone else asking questions, it's something please feel free to jump in and give them your advice. We'd love to know your night vision setups and your advice for night vision. All of it would be great and muchly appreciated. We'll make sure that we check it out.
Definitely. So thank you guys, thanks for watching. Again, please hit like, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.